Some traditional uses for some of the conifer trees here in the Pacific Northwest. The conifer trees of this land have long been used by the indigenous cultures here for their medicines and resources. These trees are important to know for long-term survival and wilderness living. Here we have the western white pine. This tree has long needles and they grow from their base always in groups of 5, as you can see. Tea from the needles of this tree are a really good source of vitamin C and antioxidants, which are important for health during the winter months when nutritious vegetables aren't in season. I use the bark for crafting buckets and containers. You can peel it off in the springtime. You don't want to peel it all the way around the trunk of the tree or else you kill it. So if you just pull off strips or sections, then you can harvest bark and keep the tree alive. You can peel the bark from these branches here and use it to make a tea that breaks up congestion in the lungs and clears out the respiratory tract. Back in the day, it was actually a common ingredient in cough syrup. Here we have a small lodgepole pine. When they get bigger, they lose their lower limbs and they look like a telephone pole. They always have needles in groups of 2 and sometimes 3, whereas the white pine over here has them in groups of 5. The uses are very similar, but these needles are shorter and not as good for basket making. This nice looking Christmas tree is called a grand fir. It's sort of the classic shape for Christmas trees. They can get huge like this one. They have flat branches and individual needles that spread sideways, as you can see. The broken needles smell bitter and citrusy. Fir needles are always green on the top and have 2 white stripes on the underside. Now fir needles are used a lot like white pine bark is. It's good at breaking up congestion if made into a hot tea. I like to make healing oils from the needles of fir trees. I'll pick enough that I can chop them coarsely and fill up a mason jar, and I'll add enough olive oil to just barely cover those needles. I'll let that steep in the pantry for about 3 weeks, and then strain the oil. The oil then is very fragrant and good at easing pains if massaged into sore muscles and achy joints. Along the trunk of younger grand firs, you have lots of little blisters like this. These blisters are full of resinous sap, as you can see right there. So the sap has antibacterial qualities. It's a resin and you can apply it to cuts to help disinfect them and prevent infection and even seal them up and stop the bleeding. It's a liquid enough sap it sort of just rubs into your hands and then it's not sticky anymore. But it smells amazing, so you can use it as cologne too. You can see the slash on this white pine from years ago is now full of sap. All this sap is hardened up. That's what I collect to make glue, if you saw that video. I can safely harvest some of this sap and it won't hurt the tree at all. I use that tree sap to make hot melt glue sticks like this. You can see that in my last video I posted.